dance has always been a very big hobby for me. I am like the dance teacher within my family. Like every wedding, I'm the one coordinating dances and everything. Like I will do it for my family, but as a profession, I think it is. I have a lot of respect for people who are dancers. One of my best friends from high school, she is actually studying dance and pursuing it in the US itself. So she's like, that's like another intense level of doing it. I think that is crazy. But it's always been a very big hobby for me. And I think I want to keep it to that. So Northeastern really values the fact that their students are very involved extracurricularly, they're academic, but also there's a lot of importance on what we say as the co-op program, which is a 4 to 6 month work experience that you need to do as part of your degree. So you can be working for a firm, you can be working for a middle-sized, small-sized company, big company, startup, anything, a hospital, anything of that sort, whatever is according to your major. And for all business majors, it is compulsory to do this. But for other majors, it's not. But about 90% of our students do go on co-op, and most co-ops are also paid. So you are not paying tuition when you're on co-op. You are doing a job.
Hi everyone, welcome to another podcast where today we are here to discuss more about the power of profile building and how to crack the top universities abroad. And we have with us today Anjali Laddha, the founder and CEO of Degree2Destiny. So, hi Anjali, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashmita. Can you tell us a little also just about yourself, and then I can go ahead?
Absolutely, that would be great. Okay, so I am here as a senior counselor representing Ace My Prep. We are here a premium study abroad consultancy based in mainly New Delhi. So we have three headquarters: New Delhi, Chandigarh, Ludhiana. And mainly we are here, the co-founders are here in Delhi. And I've been here for almost 2 to 3 years. And mainly what we deal with is sending students to the premium universities out there. So with a vision wherein I don't want us to follow that crowd wherein students are randomly going to universities just for the sake of going. And that with that mindset, I'm just here to even know about your journey. How did you move ahead with the University of Northeastern? How did you crack that? And how that exactly should be the inspiration to students who are planning to move out.
Yeah.
So yes.
So for me, honestly, so a little bit about myself. So I'm Anjali. I'm founder of Degree2Destiny. Currently, I'm based in Calcutta, India. So Northeastern, for a little bit of background, if anyone doesn't know about it, it's in Boston. It's a very lively city. It's in the middle of the student city. It's absolutely amazing. And I started at Northeastern in 2022. So I first started off in their London campus, and then I moved to their Boston campus, which is the main campus, for another 3 years. And I have finished 1 year there, and I have 2 years left. And it's been an absolutely amazing experience to be at Northeastern. And right now I'm working with the Northeastern's startup founder co-op program. I will probably get into detail about the co-op program a little bit later in the episode. But it's a great opportunity where I get to work on my startup full time, and I'm one of the only people who's gotten the opportunity to come back to my country and work on this project full time, which is called Degree2Destiny. Again, getting into a little bit of detail on that later. But very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation that we're going to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love you having here. Okay, all right. So, Anjali, before moving ahead with the entire part of networking or even Degree2Destiny, first of all, I would want to know in a very unfiltered manner, how is life at Northeastern?
Yeah, so I'll be very honest, it's good. It's a bit of a hustle because there's a lot to do. And so Northeastern really values the fact that their students are very involved extracurricularly, they're academic, but also there's a lot of importance on what we say as the co-op program, which is a 4 to 6 month work experience that you need to do as part of your degree. So you can be working for a firm, you can be working for a middle-sized, small-sized company, big company, startup, anything, a hospital, anything of that sort, whatever is according to your major. And for all business majors, it is compulsory to do this. But for other majors, it's not. But about 90% of our students do go on co-op, and most co-ops are also paid. So you are not paying tuition when you're on co-op. You are doing a job, which is good. But in the process of actually applying for a job, there's a lot of importance on it. And you need to know a lot of aspects of getting a job to be able to get it. You have a lot of support from the university. I will not say that you're just like left there to like go and get a job as 19, 20-year-old, but there is very healthy competition, and the culture of the college is very much like the real world, which a lot of people may or may not like. But for me, I am so like, I'm used to it now, but also it is so practical because this is literally how life works, that people go in and out all the time of campus, because there's so many campuses worldwide now. We have one in London, like I mentioned, we have one in Oakland, we have one coming up in New York City in a couple of months, which is great. So what I want to just say is that it's very hectic because there's a lot to do. One of my seniors at college, like who's a couple of years older, says Northeastern's like a buffet. So you can get out of the buffet by just taking bread and butter. But if you choose to eat every dish at the buffet, then that's on you. So you come to the buffet, but it's on you how much you can take. So that's kind of what it is like.
Perfect. But does it become overwhelming as well to take everything on this buffet?
Yes, it does. You need to acknowledge the fact that there's a max capacity that you have, and you can probably get to that level and then be like, okay, like I think I need to calm down now. Like I need to like slow down. So there is, what I like about the buffet is there's something for everyone to do, and there's stuff that you can do that is within your comfort zone, but also if you want to be outside of it, because college is a lot about like you going outside of your comfort zone. So I really like the fact that I have opportunities to do so with different things, and I've been able to do that. So it is a little overwhelming in the sense that if you don't know how to manage your time well, especially when you're studying abroad, it gets extremely challenging.
I get it. But India में अंजलि एक चीज होती है, like undergrad students के लिए specifically, once you're done with your 12th, then parents usually prefer कि चलो bachelor's India में हो जाए, and then for masters you can move abroad. But yours is not that case. You're pursuing your bachelor's itself from Northeastern, campus change कर लिया. Now you have started with your own venture. A lot of things going on, right? So first of all, homesick feel होता है इन सब के बीच में.
तो बहुत फनी चीज है, क्योंकि मैं अभी टेक्निकली घर आ गई हूँ 6 महीने के लिए, क्योंकि मेरे वेंचर पे मैं यहीं से काम कर रही हूँ. तो अभी तो होमसिक नहीं है, बट हाँ कॉलेज में तो होमसिक एकदम फील होता है. और बहुत डर लगता है इनिशियली में. आई टेल एवरीवन एंड आई टेल अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल दिस बिकॉज within my family and within like our peer group that we have seen as well, lot of people have not been able to study abroad. Like people have gone and not liked it at all and have come back, because I think it is not meant for everyone. It is a very tough thing to do because of a lot of ways that we are also like raised in a very sheltered environment. At least I was, and I was exposed to a world that was very different from the one I was raised in. तो उससे adjust करना बहुत tough होता है, पर मैं ये बोलूँगी that after a point you get very used to it and it makes you so resilient. Like you know that if you fought that, you can do anything and everything. So then moving to another country is like it's not a tough thing to do. It's like one of the toughest things that you've done, and then you're done. You're like kind of done, because it really makes you so resilient and it makes you comfortable from the fact that you can spend time with yourself. It makes you comfortable. तो वो बहुत अच्छा हो जाता है कि आप अकेले बहुत कुछ कर सकते हो, एंड आप अपनी खुद की एक फैमिली भी बना लेते हो, क्योंकि आपके फ्रेंड्स आपके फैमिली जैसे हो जाते हैं.
Exactly, that's so true. Yeah. Okay, great. So I believe you've got used to that right now. Now you have adjusted with everything. You have come in terms with reality. Rather, I would put it like that. ठीक है. So this thought was there from the very beginning that you want to move abroad.
Yes. So for me, तो मेरी फैमिली की हिस्ट्री तो थोड़ी ऐसी है. So I have one cousin sister who I've always looked up to. So she went to study in the US amongst us for the first time. So I come from a very big joint family. We were 20.
Undergrad itself?
Sorry?
I was asking for undergrad itself she went, or for masters?
For undergrad. This is everyone talking about undergrad. I come from a joint family of 21 people. One of my cousin sisters. तो वो गई. उसके बाद two of my cousin brothers, so one of my cousin brothers and my own brother, they went to also do undergrad. So there was this notion, but they are all people who were very academic, to put it very nicely. They were very academically driven people. They were set on this path. तो मेरे को लगता था कि मैं academic तो हूँ नहीं, तो how can I go abroad? So it was always like a dream, but it was very unachievable for me. अब मैं ये नहीं बोलूंगी that academics is not important, but what I will say is what helped me stand out in my applications where I had a lot of good leadership positions in my school, and I had my own non-profit at the time, which was very helpful through my application process. At that point, my grades had become something that they were like decent. I would not say they were good; they were decent. But because of good essays and the holistic approach of the US to get people in, I think that is the main reason I could get into the college. That is one of my main reasons.
How do you term as decent? Decent matlab?
I graduate, so until 12th grade का जो pre boards होता है, तब तक was at 75-80% almost. And then my board exam, I did decent. Like I got a 90%. And this is an ISC. Okay.
Okay.
It was fine. And this is ISC humanities. So humanities ka or bhi like you can easily score higher. But I was not someone who was extremely academic ever. And I used to hate math also my entire life. अभी मैं math करती हूँ college में, तो मुझे पता कैसे करती हूँ. But I think the teaching style has changed a lot, तो मुझे grasp करना easy हो गया है. पर I had like not great grades to get in abroad. I would say अगर मेरे extracurriculars नहीं होते, तो मैं घुसती नहीं. I would have probably had to like either take a gap year and apply again, or do college in India.
Tell us more about your academic, not academic, the extracurriculars that you mentioned. उसमें क्या किया था exactly?
So I had my own non-profit, which was called We Evolve Together. So it was about gender equity and casual sexism. So that, then I had my podcast, which was related to that, which was, and then I was the only person in my high school to have 4 leadership positions concurrently. So I was able to like lead my student council. I was captain of my house. I was leading the dance team. I was leading the public speaking team. So doing a lot of those things. अभी उस समय COVID चल रहा था. So we had to do a lot of things virtually. So a lot of those virtual experiences and making the actual, like we had a sports day virtually. So if I put it that way, we had to do a lot of innovative things, which transformed into great essays for me as well. And I was able to do a lot of good internships. I was very into the digital marketing space, and I was able to do a bunch of internships related to that field, which really helped my application. And I think these extracurriculars really made me stand out, and I was able to like talk to people. I did a lot of like talking to people off LinkedIn who went to Northeastern, trying to understand whether this would be even a good fit for me. And I did not just do this for Northeastern, I did for multiple schools across the US. So that I get an understanding of what student life is like and whether that is going to be a fit for me.
But I genuinely want to understand one thing here, Anjali, कि India में specifically कोई भी student को जितना at least my network में अभी तक रहा है, and I completed my schooling also here from India itself. तो when यहाँ पे क्या होता है कि आप school जाओ, स्कूल के बाद ट्यूशंस होते हैं, ट्यूशंस करो, डू वेल इन योर एग्जाम्स, डू वेल इन योर स्कूल में आपने को एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर्स में लिया एंड देन यू आर होम. It's like that. For me specifically, I was a PCM student with computer science. So physics, chemistry, mathematics, computer science. After school, I had like back-to-back tuitions till 10 p.m., 10 in the night. I used to have my tuitions. I used to come back, do my homework and sleep. That's it. तो उसके आगे इतना सब करना है, ये नॉलेज तक कहीं से नहीं थी कि ओके डू आई हैव टू डू समथिंग इन सोशल वर्क और टेक अप इंटर्नशिप्स व्हेन आई एम एट स्कूल. बैचलर्स में होते हुए एक्सपोजर मिल जाता है इंडिया में, पर स्कूल में नहीं मिलता. हाउ डिड यू टैकल दैट थिंग? हाउ डिड यू क्रैक इट एक्चुअली?
यस, सो मेरे लिए I can't compare myself to a PCMC student. I have a lot of respect for people who take science. I have seen a lot of my friends like very worked really hard towards it. I would say compared to what my stream was versus what a PCMC student's stream is gonna be, it's different. But what I will say is I made the most of my vacation time. So summer vacations in 11th and 12th grade are extremely important. you have to make the most of that 1-2 months. Don't go on vacation, try to get an internship. It will really make a difference if you're applying abroad. Doing social work outside of like your school time, so either taking out 1 hour in the week or going on the weekend is very very important. तो जब मतलब स्कूल में like I have usually seen when I was at least in school, बहुत ebbs and flows आते हैं कि आप कभी like it's peak पढ़ाई because it's like peak season, like everyone's taking unit tests, but then there's that 1 week in the middle where like everything's calm. It's a little
very
bit
calm.
Yeah. So that you need to make the most out of that week. उस दिन मतलब if that week you're sitting at home and just chilling, that won't work.
No, but my question was, so sorry to cut you, but my question was कि how did you get to know कि मुझे उस एक week को utilize करना है?
तो I had a very set schedule कि मेरा mid term यहाँ है और pre board यहाँ है, उसके बीच में एक से 2 हफ्ता होता था peak. I used to make sure I used to crunch all the work into 1 or 2 weeks.
So this is via your own research or the other people from your family who have gone abroad, they told you to do this?
Okay, so people who have gone abroad before, and I also had help at that time. Like I had a guidance counselor. So she helped me also like put a lot of these things in place so that she can tell me कि ये time को ऐसे use करना है. There is no time to like for you to sit back and relax.
Now I get it. Okay. ठीक, and that eventually helped you with the entire application part, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so your approach, since for this part as well you had a counselor, so when you were looking forward to universities, did you think of like, okay, starting from your own end, or did you actually take a help of a consultancy or a counselor for applying?
So both actually. So I did a lot of research on my own because I had a lot of help at home as well. So people had like, you should apply to this university, and like because my brother had also done prep before. And then of course there was a list that came from my guidance counselor as well. So we sat down and then we finally put down that, okay, these are colleges I want to apply to. These are colleges she thinks I should apply to. And then we put that list together. And then we made sure that we were applying to a pool together. So that it was kind of a balanced and making sure that it met a lot of criteria. So I'm making sure that I look at what major we're doing, क्या ranking है उस major के लिए उस college का. So at the time, I was applying for a communication studies major. Since then, my major has changed 3 times. And there were different options that I could have pursued as a major. So business studies was one of the things. Economics was one of the things. Communication studies was one of the things. Dance was also an aspect in it.
Oh, great.
So every college we put against these majors. Then we put it against what student culture looks like. And then we put it against like fees, of course, housing, room and board, all of that, and talking to people and understanding ki what is it really about and stuff like that. I was in COVID, so I couldn't go and visit the college actually, but I did a lot of virtual tours. Websites are available at, because of COVID, every college has a virtual tour, majority. So, and if you can't find it on their website, email them and ask them. They will 100% give you some information. So, very easy to get all this information and then make a very informed decision that this is going to be my list that I'm going to apply to. And putting it very as dream school, reach school, and then back up.
Categories, Yep. Even we do that. We place our schools in like, safe, dream and average, so that we also get to know the competition kahan hai, and you are actually not putting all the eggs in one basket. You are dividing it very smartly.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that process, like putting those, I think a lot of effort first goes into like that. I think I put more effort in that research part, which made the later process way easier for me to navigate. कि किस में कितना एफर्ट डालना है उस हिसाब से तो दैट लाइक ईडी भी होता है ईए होता है लाइक अर्ली डिसीजन अर्ली एक्शन रेगुलर डिसीजन सो हाउ डू यू वांट टू अप्लाई टू दोस आल्सो इज ऑन यू देन
You applied to all the universities in round 1?
Yeah, so I did early decision for Northeastern because you're only allowed to do one school, like one university at that time. And then I did early action for 2 other universities. And
Okay.
then I did about 10, 12, I did about 10 regular decision, and
Huh?
did 5. So the UCAS, which is the UK application, is just 5 colleges, which is one application that goes to all 5. So I did that.
Hmm. So how many universities in total did you apply to starting
So
with?
I did about 17.
17.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. And out of those 17, how many admins did you get?
So I got all 5 in UCAS. So 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So 9.
Line. That's great. That's great. And you moved ahead with Northeastern very clearly. Perfect. All right. That's great. So you appeared for SAT exam as well for this?
No, so I was in a test optional year. That was the first year was test optional. And I'll tell you very honestly, I think I lucked out. Um, it was a test optional year. Anyone who
Huh?
asks me now whether they should give the SAT and ACT, regardless, I will say 100% please give the exam. Because it is very good to give it, because it also gives you a little bit of a taste of what studying in abroad, and especially in America, kind of looks like. It's very different. The English is a little different, or the math is different. So it you can grasp probably a little bit more of what that will look like for you very easily.
Okay, perfect. And you took your IELTS exam, right? Your English language exam. You took that.
Yes, I did. For me, the IELTS was very easy. I'll be very honest. Most say that the speaking exam can be a little tough. I was trained in communication skills I was trained about 8 years. So for me, it was like a cakewalk. What I will say about the IELTS exam, I think the way it's structured, it just is meant to make you stressed, which it's not actually that stressful. It's just meant to, because you have to like sit in a chair for 3 hours and like write a paper, and it's just like really taxing that way. And then
Okay.
after a while, you just get tired because like you can't leave the room really. You're not allowed to go get food in the middle. So what I will say is like eat good food before you go, and then you should be fine.
Yeah. I took IELTS back in, I believe, around 2019. I took IELTS, and I'm more of a pen and paper person. Like I can write well when it's pen and paper, not computer based. I was there sitting and all anxious, wherein I know that I'm well versed with English. Everything is cool for me, but still it was okay. The exam makes you, the environment makes you
Yes,
a bit anxious. Yep.
yes,
That is the whole part. Okay. So I want to know your Anjali, see, your SOPs, the essays, SOPs have 70% weightage of the entire application process, is what we
yeah.
believe. How did you crack that? Like, did it solely from your end, or you took any external help as well?
So, like I said, I had a guidance counselor, but
Yes.
the one thing I tell people always, and this is the document that literally saved my life when I was writing my essays. So, every activity that I did from 8th grade onwards was an essay that I
Hmm.
wrote. So, whether that was a badly structured essay or not does not matter. So,
Hmm.
it was on like that document is around like 3,000, 5,000 words for me now. But everything. So, for example, when I was captain of my house, my journey actually started when I was much younger. So, every
Okay.
year of high school was a
Hmm.
kind of an essay. So, when I applied to vice captain was an essay. And then when I was committee member was also an essay. And then when I became captain was also an essay. And all my speeches for those elections were also essays that were written in that document. So when I was putting together my essays for college applications, so one of the essays that I wrote for an application was fully about leadership. All of that content made it so much easier for me to crack down on that essay. And I could actually pick up quotes and lines that were in my speeches. So
Okay. Hmm.
everything that you do, make it into an essay. For
Hmm.
example, I started dancing when I was 3 years old, and Madhuri
Hmm.
Dixit was like my idol, right?
Hmm.
And that had become an essay for me in that reflections document that I had. Okay, so everything was a different bullet point essay, and it made my life so much easier when I was actually writing everything down for my application. So definitely do this. And always have someone check in on like your grammar and sentence structure, because a lot of times, because you're writing about things that are way more personal, you end up missing those things. So definitely having a guidance counselor for the essay process at least is so important, because having a third person see it is good. And always have a limit of 3 people seeing it. So one person's your guidance counselor and 2 more people. So my parents saw my essays after they were all submitted. They were not allowed to read them, because I knew they would have opinions of what I've written. So
Absolutely, many people involved, the more number of people are
yes,
involved, the more opinions, and you'll be like, okay, they're saying this, they're saying that, which one should I actually move ahead with? 2 minutes, exactly.
my guidance counselor told me this. She was like, have like 2 more people who will look at your essays, and that's it. We stop there. Like, we will not go into like, you are one person. After that, 3 more people. One of them has to be me, and then 2 other people. Besides,
The other 2 people for you?
so it was my sister, my cousin, and it was my best friend who like saw my essays.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was also at the time applying to colleges in the US. So we were both going through the process. So we both read each other's essays.
I get it. ठीक है. नहीं, but it's a really good thing because India में again, see, you had that kind of exposure, you already had that kind of environment in your house, wherein extracurriculars की importance क्या है in the entire study abroad journey. Nobody realizes that because India is pretty much focused on just numbers. Again, not being negative, but being very realistic कि ऐसा है. यहाँ पे numbers focus करते हैं, and obviously to get a seat in a university, they also look into your caste. That's it. उसकी बाकी सारी चीजें वहां पे नहीं आती है, right? That's the whole point, exactly. But when you're moving abroad, they look into your intent. How passionate are you for that domain? Basically, that's the main part, right? And they see what you want to show. And if you show it to them in the best way possible, it's done and dusted.
So
And I believe you did that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how did you exactly finalize Northeastern? Because you had 9 offers. What was your filtration criteria?
I will tell you. I had 2 like top offers in my head. Okay. And one was King's in the UK, and one was Northeastern. Okay, like these were like the ultimate 2 that we were making a decision about. And like we like kind of made up our mind on the rest, that okay, like this is not like a good fit because of XYZ reason, this is not a good fit because of XYZ reason. These were the 2 like ultimate options. And I gave myself about a week or 2, I remember, and I messaged random people. I'm not kidding you about this. This is the first time I used LinkedIn properly in my life, probably. I messaged random people on LinkedIn. I told them, I have an offer from your university for this course. I want to know your opinion on whatever you can tell me. Like, what do you think? Can you tell me a little bit more about the student culture? What is this about? What is that about? And both of these programs were both communication and media space, because that was the major I was applying with. And I got good answers from like good people. Like I messaged about 15 people from Northeastern, 15 people from King's, and I got like a decent number of like 5-6 replies from each around that. And I then took a decision, because Northeastern just made sense because of, number one, the co-op program, because it was so practical learning based. And the second part was the fact that it was in Boston. Like, Boston's a great student city. And like right now I get opportunities to literally like go to Harvard, MIT and attend conferences, which is unmatched. Like, I have met Sal Khan like in person and had a conversation with him, which I think is unmatched. So if you're in the middle of the hub of innovation, this is what you're exposed to. And I've always wanted that. So I just took the call then. Yeah.
Great that you had clarity starting say, and even like you knew कि ठीक है इन लोगों से connect करना, networking, that is something that will lead you to the place, right? So you also had scholarships, by the way, Anjali,
so
in any of the university?
So not at these 2, but I did have a scholarship at like one of the other universities that I applied to. And like I did not, like I got merit scholarships mainly. Like I did not apply to, like I did not apply for financial aid, but I did get like merit scholarship from.
Okay, but that was not even the point that you were, or your criteria that you were looking forward to when you were finalizing your university. It was more towards the brand name, the network out there, the environment, everything, right? ठीक है. Okay, all right. So now, Anjali, coming to the main part, when we were majorly speaking of networking, right? You're currently in your second year, correct?
Like I finished my second year. I'm a third year now.
You are in your third year. What's your exact degree name, by the way?
It's called Bachelor of Science in Economics and International Business.
Okay, okay. So even communication is inculcated in that since you have been pursuing communication as well.
So I entered initially as a communication studies major, and then I took a bunch of communication classes, realized it was like not something I wanted to do. Then moved to being a business administration major. Again, was like, okay, yeah, I want to be more challenged. And then I moved to an economics and international business combined degree. Yes, communication is a part of it because international business they focus a lot on communication.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a lot of conversation about emerging markets, how to get into them. And I think in general, in most of my classes, you're supposed to give presentations, and your like skills of how you present, like group presentations or individual presentations, those skills are really, really important for you to stand out in a class. And I think majority, like regardless, like I have a friend who's literally a bioengineering major. She has to give presentations in her class. So this is a norm across most majors, regardless of whether you're STEM or not or whatever. You have to give presentations all the time. So yes, communication is very important for that, and like you really need to have all of your uh, skills in place to make sure that you're going to do well.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, coming back to the communication part, networking part, I believe, as I mentioned previously as well, since the very starting, it's commendable, first of all, how you utilize the network that you had. Not every student, not every individual, I would say, they like use the potential that they have already to its fullest, which I've already done. So kudos on that to you first, Anjali. Now, coming to the second part, we already in the starting of this entire podcast, we mentioned about degree to destiny. And when I first came to file on LinkedIn as well, I was pretty taken aback. I would say very honestly that you are right now an undergrad student, not even a master's student. You just got an exposure, and you already you've started with your own venture. And on top of that, the professors are funding it for you. Professors of Northeastern, that's not a small thing. That's not at all a small thing. And many students out there dream of this stage where you are right now. So my whole point is ki, what is the importance of this correct networking? Because half of the students they're like, ठीक है, part-time job कर लेंगे, cafes में we'll work, we'll earn money, and since we are in a new place, we might go out and party. That's also okay because that's a student mindset, right? It's a new place away from family, that's cool. But you are more, I would say, your motivation is not driven towards that specific area. So, according to you, I would really want you to throw some light on the RAs and TAs, research assistantship, teaching assistantship, how to even take that up. Is it difficult? It's not difficult. Everything, your on ground experience, I would really love to know about that.
Yeah. So before that, like, thank you so much for all the compliments. So just a technicality that like it's not like the professors of the university per se, but it's just like the university itself. Because professors can't give funding technically. Yeah. But anyway, getting to your question about RAs and TAs. So it is competitive, like at least Northeastern, it is pretty competitive because you really need to, number one, like stand out in your class. Especially for like a teaching assistant position, like you need to be really good at being someone who stands out in the class, like is getting good grades, but is also someone who raises their hand and asks questions. Because I've seen this culture, like in India, I was as a student very scared to ask questions. Like I was like, oh, am I being stupid by asking a question, right? But in the US, I've seen like this is the opposite. Like if you don't ask questions, like they will think you're even more stupid. So curiosity is actually rewarded. So if you want to like ask a question that's outside of the syllabus of the class, your professor will tell you that, you know, like we can have a conversation about this outside of class, but like within class, I can't because this is outside of the syllabus. And they're more than happy to. So number one, that, but number two, making sure that you go to office hours and talk to the professor about whatever your doubts are and all of those. But after the class is over, emailing the professor and being like, I am looking for a teaching assistant position or a research assistant position. Is there something that you're working on that I can help with? So a lot of, because like a lot of universities in the US, like I think most of them have a research heavy like department, right? So you need to just go out there and approach people. So I had a friend who's an international business major, and what he did is basically he was in a class with this professor and he really liked the professor. And most professors in the beginning give introductions about themselves. So they are supposed to mention that if they are working on like a specific research, like they will talk about it, most likely. So he just approached the professor and was like, I really, like 2-3 weeks into class, was very engaged in class, all of that. Reached out to the professor, was like, can I please help with any research that you're working on? Within a week with paperwork done, was in a lab working with him. It's about you being proactive and just going out there and like asking. Like the least they can say is they can say no, right? But what if you just never ask? I think most students are just scared of asking. And I think if you just ask, you'll be just fine. Yeah.
Okay, that's the entire thing. But do students realize the importance or difference between RATAs and the other part-time jobs that's off campus?
Do they understand the difference?
Yes. Like how that is going to impact their future part as well. Because once you're doing RA, you are building a very different network. That's not the same thing when you're doing something off the campus. That's not related to your domain. So how is that there?
Yes. So I think students recognize that. I think as early as their second year, I think first year is like that mindset, which is what you were talking about. I think within the second year, people largely realize that like you need to have your RATA, and like if you are someone who is looking to get into academics, you need to get into that. So at Northeastern, we have a different kind of a job, which is also on campus, which is what I do, which is Husky Ambassador. So we are like tour guides on campus, but we're also the main people and the first face that people see when they come to campus and visit us. So whether that's admitted students or people who are prospective students who want to potentially join the university. So even in this job, like we function as a club, but we also function as an organization, and we're a part-time job because we get paid for every tour that we do. So what happens is like there's a very high selection process, and you need to like clear interviews to make sure that you actually get to that level and get to being a tour guide, and you get a lot of training. So for RAs and TAs, people do understand these differences, but not very early. I think the more that you get in and like actually read about these opportunities and get to know people who are actually RAs and TAs, because like your own class will probably have like a teaching assistant. So talking to your own TA can also make a huge difference, because oftentimes these TAs are the ones who will make the second recommendation for someone. Because the professor might ask them, like, do you know someone from the class who's like been very proactive, who has come to like office hours a lot and is good enough to be a TA? So you need to talk to your own TAs as well. Yeah.
Again, networking, communicating. Perfect. Okay, so how did this idea of like, even starting with your own venture, how was that planted in your head?
So when I was in London, I was in an international business class, and this was actually the class that made me change my major So it was like a very pivotal class. I was very excited to be in that class. It was called International Business and Global Social Responsibility. And it was led by one of my favorite professors from college, which his name is Dr. Khakar. And the class basically talked a lot about like international business markets. India was a great aspect, China, like a lot of interesting stuff. And towards the end of class, my professor asked the entire class, like, how many of you all are on LinkedIn? And this is like the first semester of my first year at college. Okay. And when this question was asked, 2 people raised their hand. And one of the 2 people was me. And the professor said, I think that if you all are not on LinkedIn, you all are foolish in this generation. And I want to make sure that by the end of the semester, all of you all make a LinkedIn profile and all of you all will connect with me on LinkedIn. So he made this like, and within I think the week, a lot of people like amongst the college started making LinkedIn profiles. Now, what we saw, like what I saw as a trend was like it was easy for people to make an Instagram and Facebook profile, but not a LinkedIn profile. And when I tried to go and actually find ways for students to make and how students should use LinkedIn, there was a gap. And I was like, why is there no video that tells me how to use LinkedIn as a student like properly? And then I came home after like my entire year, and I was talking to my father, and he was like, this is when like Gen AI was like coming up. And he's like, why don't we ask ChatGPT to like try to make a LinkedIn profile and like help you with this? And that's where I started the journey for Degree2Destiny. It was through LinkedIn profiles. It was through the fact that we wanted college students to have personal brands, especially study abroad students, because yes, study abroad students don't have enough networks in place when we move. So like if you're someone who has a lot of family where when you're moving to the States, that's great for you if they can help you out. But usually people do not have an existing network when they move to a foreign country. So a platform like LinkedIn, if you take it very seriously and you build a good personal brand on it, it can literally change the way you get an internship, you meet someone, and all of those things. And I've seen the LinkedIn culture that exists. Like any conference that I've attended, everyone is now connected on LinkedIn. No one usually asks for an Instagram anymore. Like it is LinkedIn that you will go for. And people really want to see what that is like. So that's where it kind of started, and then it moved towards like what we have like now, the CAN model, etc. But yeah, that's kind of where it started.
Okay, great. It's so inspiring to hear also from you, actually. But yes, CAN model. I really would love to know more about CAN model. मैंने सुना है, देखा है, I've read about it a bit. But yes, I would want to have some further insights about the same.
So what we call it at D2D, like Degree2Destiny, is helping you can. And I believe everyone can. So the CAN basically stands for communication, AI, and network. And this is the three skills that we help you develop at D2D as a college student and a high school student. So high school if you're in 11th, 12th grade, very apt for someone who's studying abroad. And when you're in first, second year of college, we think like communication is extremely important because like I mentioned, like anything, like you need to communicate to like even talk to someone, right? So if you're good, that'll stand out. I have gone to events where 40-year-old people don't know how to talk and don't know how to like make conversation, and it really saddens me, and I don't want to be in a position like that. And if I know someone who can improve from anything that I'm doing, I would love to help them out. So yeah, and in our generation, like there's this statistic that I read about. It says that people in our generation are more scared about speaking than of dying, and I would honestly rather just speak than die. So yeah, communication. But then of course there's networking. I've spoken enough on this episode about the networking aspect, like it's everywhere. And AI, because I think with students there's this narrative that AI is going to just be used unethically by our generation, and there's nothing like you can do about it. I think AI for students can be used in a very ethical manner. For starters, it can be used to literally learn these two skills, like communicating and networking. And that's what we teach right now. We make sure that you know how to use AI so that you can just help yourself better. Yeah.
Came up with this idea because I believe you have a team. You have a team of how many people, do Anjali?
So right now we're about like 5 people, and I'm hiring right now. So yeah, that's going to become about 6-7 people. Yeah.
Perfect. So, who exactly came with this idea of CAN? Because this is pretty innovative in terms of the entire full form that they've built. Yep.
Yeah. So I am the one who came up with it. So I have a lot of help. Thankfully, like my father now works in like the Gen AI space a little bit. So he like helps me with a lot of AI stuff. But yeah, like the idea is like mostly mine. And now we're like looking at expanding because we have these 6 months in hand as well. So yeah.
Right. Great. It's actually it's inspiring a lot, and I really hope that students or the study abroad aspirants who actually see this, they do get inspired by this. Because not everyone has that zeal what you have. So Anjali, I would really want you to even show the demo. I believe for CAN.
Yeah.
right? Yep.
So this is basically like one of our GPTs that we have built right now.
Okay.
That we have made like it's really be used by anyone. So this is Ashmita, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I can see it.
So it's as so a little bit of background. So this is ChatGPT. You've probably heard about it. What we've
Yes.
done basically is this is a custom GPT, which we have.
Mm-hmm.
It has a custom configuration. Now with GPT getting democratized, you can have access to this GPT if you come to me directly, and you can get full access to it. So what is this doing? It's a profile builder for college student. This is a resume of mine that I'm putting in, and then we'll see what it does. So my first name is Anjali, and a fun fact about me, I was named after a song.
Oh, that's great. Which song?
It's literally, it goes Anjali, 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 Hamari, Pyari, Anjali. That's literally what it just goes like that.
I've never heard that song. But okay, great.
It's
I
fun.
would for sure listen to it after this podcast.
So usually people think it's like Anjali from Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and then I'm like, no, it's not. Like it's a different thing. And my parents somehow heard the song and they really like the name. So yeah, they stuck with it. And then my favorite hobby is to dance. And I have very loud feet because I'm a Kathak dancer.
Very loud.
Feet because I'm a Kathak dancer.
Feet. Absolutely.
Yes, okay. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna now again input my CV from here. That's like the only piece of document I'm giving it right now for you to like just get a little bit of context. So what am I career goals? I want to be a full-time entrepreneur or get into consulting, for example,
Okay.
the education space. Gather these details from the document. So it's written out a summary for me, which looks pretty good. And it's going to detail all my education. So this is basically creating like a profile for you, which can be used like either say on LinkedIn. That you can use some of this information for LinkedIn, or for a basic like college student / high school student profile if you're going to study abroad. And then we're making like a GPT literally that is in sync with LinkedIn right now, so that you can like literally put up all that information there.
Who did all the background work of creating this entire part, like the tech part? Who's handling?
So this is actually handled like we have two AI experts. So one of them is my father, but then the other one is like someone who's very technical. He's like an old friend of my dad's. So he's helping us with a lot of the GPT, like the technical part of things. Yeah. And then I personally like am into prompt engineering right now full time. So I do a lot of like prompt engineering myself. So like this GPT, I have a little bit of a like knack building, because I was like, I want like this aspect and that aspect, and I want to make sure that it's like quirky enough for a student to use. And then so basically like if I keep chatting with it, what it's basically going to end up doing is going to form a document with all of this information on it, and then it just becomes easy for me to like share this information with anyone who I am say talking to, or like wants to know a little bit about me. So it can also potentially like be a kind of a profile that you have even if you want to apply for internships as a high school student at least.
That's great. I am very impressed by this actually. That's great. So apart from this as well, anything else that you have as a part of D2D?
Yes, so basically our main thing is about like LinkedIn.
Okay.
For you, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's literally how you spell my name, Anjali Laddha. And then there's like a lot of information on here, and I advise every student to like make this because a lot of times you don't have all of your information on a resume because your resume is like restricted to a page now. So you need like a LinkedIn to kind of put into place everything that you're doing, and like with anywhere and everywhere. So anything that you do from like 8th, 9th grade onwards, I would say should be on your LinkedIn, and you should really like put effort into it. And it's really easy for, especially for people to like recommend you here. So these are people who I have either met, they have heard about my startup, they have been clients of mine, they have been mentors to me. So these are all different types of people, but they vouch for me. So I always say that you don't ever sell like service to person. Like it's not about B2B, it's about human to human. Humans trust humans. So if there's someone vouching for you, it's more likely that another person will come to you and take your service. So always, if you do an internship, if you have a good school teacher, anyone who has good things to say about you, try to get them onto LinkedIn so that there's some proof of what work you've done, which can be really, really nice. So it's like different people, different kinds of people. And then for a direct like study abroad perspective, this is something I was experimenting with today. This is not something I had not done before with the Common App. So I gave it a document, which is basically like my profile resume. And then I said, I want to write a Common App essay. Give me some ideas from what is on this resume. Okay. So, right. And then it gave me a lot of ideas for different Common App essays that I can write about. And then, so what would you say is a good next step to this? If I had to like go ahead and do something about it. So that I can like prompt this chat accordingly, and then I can show you what it can probably come up with.
Okay, so you're asking me what should be the next step?
No, so that part? In the process. So if I have a Common App essay idea, what would you say would be an appropriate next step?
Then post that you would ideally, if at all you had an idea, then start on that basis, right? If at all I had this idea, we look into whatever ideas are pitched to us and then post that. Ideally, if it were me, I would then start writing on the basis of that, and then I would put it in proofread those things.
Okay, yeah. So if I go with like, say, the third one, and say I want to write like a basic introduction that might be able to help me when I'm actually writing my essay. So if I tell it, act as an essay sport, help me write the introduction for the third topic based on Anjali's story. How much would you rate this introduction out of 5 or 10, whatever? Yeah.
Let me just give a few seconds. Let me go.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, great. Just one that was started when we have started this entire receiver, I would say was it's a bit of fancy starting to it. The first statement, if I see here, it's not pretty plain. So, quick thing that I want to ask here: how much is that encouraged? Since I'm right now, you being into this much more than I am. So, how much do you think is it valid here? These sophisticated statements, basically.
So, in the college application process, I would say like, so first and foremost, I think applications now track AI. So you really need to have good human input to make sure that you're like not caught and your essay is now fully written by AI. But I think like it is important for you to like picture, like they always say like show don't tell, right? So always like putting in like a fancy statement might not work, but actually visualizing and making the reader think about um what your vision was at that time, or where you were seated or something like that, can be really effective. Yes, that sentence is very flowery though, like in my opinion.
Okay, that's perfect. And if you would want to have a different version of this, there is an option wherein you can just get it changed or maybe like revamp as well.
Yeah,
I believe
100%.
that was there, right? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
It's actually perfect. So,
So we basically just do this for students in different formats. So if you want to like come in and learn AI to use it in your daily life to make your life easier, definitely that's a possibility. But yeah, like we just use for different things. LinkedIn's what we're working on right now actively. But if you want to learn about a different space, I'd be open to like talking, because I love like learning from this, because I'm like working on this full time now, so I have a lot of scope to explore.
that's actually so. I would this into equation because if this is right now that you're at this point, it impact your career plus the ROI part, right? That's the main thing that we are looking like joining the dots. So when it comes to ROI, just specifically speaking of that part here, so what is the major significance of this when we are connecting it with the ROI career?
Yes, so for me, so I always somewhere knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Okay. And I wanted to go to a university that kind of promoted that in a way, like each had different ways to do it. Um, in terms of the ROI, in terms of like the financials of things, we've mapped out potentially how much money this can make. Okay. And what that goal looks like for me. And I'm telling you, like, that goal can be different for different people. Like, I have people within my family who are doing corporate jobs outside of college because they don't want to take this risk. And that's completely admirable and very respectable. That's
Absolutely.
absolutely fine. And I think especially if you go abroad to study, that's a very, very big investment. So you need to make sure that if like you have a loan or any like student debt of that sort, you need to make sure that that is first cleared. In my case, I'm ready to like right now at least take that risk. I'm a third year. I'm just starting my third year. This is part of that. I wanted to give this a shot, because I know that even right now there is a little bit like there's scope for it to fail and for me to be okay with it. Because I'm someone who thinks about the long term in the sense that I hate being uncertain. So if I like don't know, like if everything is now stuck on one thing, like I'm going to be really, really stressed about it. So in terms of like that specific ROI, I will say that I'm not like putting all my eggs in the same basket. Like I do have a backup plan. And
That is
like, and that is like literally to get into corporate if this does not work out. Like if there's absolutely like no scope for this to work out, I will do that. And then come back to entrepreneurship at a later stage if I have to. I am not preparing for that because I really want this to work out, because I know it can benefit a lot of students, because I've spoken to multiple people and they've really said that this can help a lot of students. And then as a larger ROI of studying abroad, I will say there is a lot in terms of knowledge and in terms of the people you meet. The people you meet abroad, very different in terms of the also mindsets. And also like with my idea, I had gone to multiple people. Like I'd spoken to some people in India and some people who were there. And I'll tell you very honestly, in India, I got the thing that, okay, you are too young. Like this is your first thing. Like you will, like, don't do this. Like don't do it right now. Just go have fun. Like you're young. Like don't do this. And then in America, it's very different. Like it's like, okay, fine. Like do it. We'll help you with this. And like, we'll guide you. We'll help you and we'll guide you. And we want you to be able to take this risk. We want to enable you in different ways. And that's why I think also my startup founder co-op, that team was able to help me in a very good way. so that they're giving me guidance. Like people that want to guide you. They don't want to be like, okay, you're too young, or you're like, they will not tell you that you're too young, you're too young to have an opinion. Like that is something that I've done too much. And I will say the mindset is, I think, the biggest ROI that I see. Like no one will tell you that a dream is not possible. No one, literally.
Absolutely. No, but this part, as I mentioned, I've been mentioning this in the starting that, the zeal that I pursue, with that, if you're moving ahead, something or we will try on the plate, we will make it work. Even if things are going south, there is always an option to bring it back in some way or the other, right? And that I believe, I hope that's going to actually work out for you as well. I don't want you to go ahead with the backup option because what you're doing right now is actually commendable. Also, just one quick question, since I am also into this dancing field, since good, I also started somewhere when I was 3 or 4, so good number of years with that. So, any plans to take it up professionally, or when you're speaking of entrepreneurship, starting your own classes?
So I, funnily enough, like my dance teacher jokes about this because she was like, I was like someone who always used to like was senior, so like was to like train the little kids and whatever. But no, I just chose not to because dance has always been a very big hobby for me. I am like the dance teacher within my family. Like every wedding, I'm the one coordinating dances and everything. Like I will do it for my family, but as a profession, I think it is. I have a lot of respect for people who are dancers. One of my best friends from high school, she is actually studying dance and pursuing it in the US itself. So she's like, that's like another intense level of doing it. I think that is crazy. But it's always been a very big hobby for me, and I think I want to keep it to that. If it ever comes
You don't
around,
want to monetize it.
yeah, I exactly, like I don't want to put it at like that bracket, number one, but also if I ever get the opportunity, I try to like fit it in whenever. If I get an opportunity, like in the middle, I got an opportunity to go back to my high school and like do something for them as a dance mentor, and I just did it because it's just fun for me. So yeah, like every now and then, yeah, but permanently, definitely not. Yeah. What about you?
But nee, what about me? I fall into that category where I don't want to monetize my hobby. It's
That's
that I love to do, and I would want to continue with the same zeal, same passion, and move ahead. So I had this pretty, I would say, I'm grateful as well, very prestigious opportunity. I had to perform on the 75th birthday at Kartavya Path. I performed there, and again, see, it's all about taken it up in a wherein yes, I can become a teacher. I've taken all the examinations that are required. I do perform. I do all the things required, but I don't want that to be the monetary part here in my life. Never. Some people whom you love or what you love, you should. I believe you should not place them in that bracket. But again, it's a very personal choice that people also make, right? So yeah, that's there. But coming back to D2D, you have done great job there, and that being your dream. And again, being very realistic here, because the branding that we're doing, it's like creating your own USP, the professionally as well, entire profile optimization, the networking strategies is pretty important even in a very long run. It's not about कि आने वाले एक दो दिन या एक दो महीने में काम आएगा. It's all about the entire future. So one question I had here, Anjali, you made this statement when you were actually explaining about the LinkedIn part that an individual should start putting their entire journey from the eighth standard. Is it also valid for people who are maybe seeking jobs right now, or maybe also moving ahead for masters, or is it just for students who are pursuing their bachelors?
I would say people who are younger, like I usually advise this to people who are like in 11th, 12th grade because they don't have a lot already. But if it's something as significant as you were like a national level chess player, for example, right? Like, or a state level, like you don't do that anymore, but you were when you were at that level, 100% it should be on your LinkedIn. Like that is something that needs to be there. I have a friend who was a national level basketball player when she was in 10th grade. Stopped playing basketball after that because of an injury. But yeah, it's on there because it's always been a passion for her. And like if you tell her today to like get up and play basketball, she will, and she will probably defeat you. So it's like one of those things. For someone who's older who already has a lot, You don't have to. Like, I started on LinkedIn in 11th grade, so I have had things on it since I was in 8th grade because it's just been like that. But yeah, you don't have to. Yeah.
Makes sense because जो important है absolutely you have to cover the important aspects but yes with masters तक आते आते या तो आपके work life में बहुत professional experience में add on हो जाता है many projects there many courses there and also the college life that we have the undergrad so masters में आते आते और अलग relevant चीजें आ जाती है because then 8th standard seems a bit too far as well for them
You're very
right
right about that. And you probably even forget, like, where was I in 8th grade? Like, I was, yeah.
That's the main thing. ठीक है. So, do please share some success stories of the people because you mentioned that the people have actually started using it. So,
Yes. So, okay, yeah. So, one of my friends, she like used our services. She's now looking at a full-time job offer, which is great. So, I have had those. I have had someone who was way older and was seeking a job. Like, there was a job switch. So, weirdly enough, even though this is a market I did not target, I had a lot of master students from Canada who came in and approached to do this. So one of them was seeking a full-time job offer. Again, we are in a very bad job market right now. Everyone knows this. So getting a job offer right now and getting those landed with interviews, etc., very helpful. So I've had someone who had like a LinkedIn, who got an offer on LinkedIn and then went ahead with it and got the job. So a lot of like success stories in that sense. But I've mainly heard like anyone who's come to me who has like any positive feedback that I've had is no one's ever told anyone to make their LinkedIn profile without a job description. Like, it's usually in relation to like one particular field or one particular aspect, like LinkedIn profile for software engineer, LinkedIn profile for XYZ, right? But what like the one thing like I really heard from this one girl who came to me was Anjali, I really thought that this was for me and was not for like anyone else. It was like personalized because the tool helped me in a way which was very personalized and it was for me, which no one else out there is giving. And I think with GenAI, that is what we're offering, and that's something that we can give to everyone. And you will probably not find a resource like this. If you make your own, that's different. But I think out there are limited resources, especially for students. And I think students of tomorrow need to be on, like, have to have their personal brands. Otherwise, they will not get hired. I truly believe in this. And I say even when I was applying for co-op, because I was applying actively, I was asked about my LinkedIn a lot of times in interviews. I'm not joking when I say this. Like, people say to run through your resume. Because my LinkedIn was standing out, I was asked about it. And I was like, they asked me, they were like, so what do you do with your startup? Why is this important to you? And I think people are driven by the fact that if you're a student and you have a mission, they really like that. They appreciate that. So yeah, like, you just need to make sure that you're someone who's passionate. And if you have a personal brand, that is amazing. Like, they will recognize you for it.
That's actually great. Perfect. Okay. So my key takeaways from this entire podcast, the conversation that we had, if I were to summarize, then I would say, first of all, LinkedIn banao, अच्छे से banao, right? And leverage it to the best way possible. And apart from that, absolutely networking, connecting jitna possible ho sake. And yes, extracurriculars is a must. We cannot confine ourselves to just the numbers, the marks. We cannot just confine ourselves to academics. The more exposure we give to ourselves, the better we become on an overall run if we see, right? So yes, that these are the three needs that I would say, and yes, background research should be very strong. This is what I could learn from this podcast because I came here with a learning perspective as well. Because Yes, you have a very commendable profile. I also went through your LinkedIn. I was like, wow, okay, this has to be done, right? So you tell me, how was it for you? Any of the pointers that you would want to give out to the aspirants out there?
Yeah. No, so thank you so much for having me. Like, genuinely, this was a great conversation. I've really gone on a, a podcast where I've literally said everything very unfiltered, and this has truly been that. Like, I probably meant everything I said. And I'm so glad I could be very candid on here with you. I have just one takeaway. Like, if anyone on here who's watching this wants to like connect with me, I will give you. There's going to be a QR code on the screen. If Ashmita, you're okay with like me just showing that,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they can like just directly connect with me. Otherwise, like literally my first and last name, you'll find me on LinkedIn. My headline just says I help Gen Z something something, so you can find me.
I would also personally tell my students to even reach out to you on LinkedIn
Of
because
course.
it's very, very beneficial. It's pretty beneficial on how to move ahead with the entire part.
Yeah.
And a Northeastern student actually guiding them with an entrepreneurial mind. What else do they need?
No, that thank you so much. You've been so nice. Thank you so much. So much. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Anjali.